small town. And she met my father in Canada, and then he brought her to New York, and then I ended up in Hawaii. But I'm just like really happy to have Filipino roots, and I'm delighted to be a part of this. I'm on the Hawaii Filipino Lawyers Association board, and I'm especially interested in this topic because I also was a candidate for public office in the 2020 primary. So we are going to talk about increasing our representation as Filipinas in government. I hope there's a lot of young Filipino women out there and girls that are inspired, and I'm excited to share with you guys the stories of these amazing Filipinas here with us today. I'm going to briefly introduce you guys. First, we have, oh, here she is, Senator Joy San Buenaventura. She hails from District 2, Puna East, Ka'u, but she was born in Manila and is the granddaughter of a Sakata who migrated to Maui and then returned to the Philippines. She's a product of the Hawaii public school system, attended Honolulu Elementary, Washington Middle School, McKinley High School, and after graduating from high school, she and her family moved to Las Vegas, where she got her bachelor's in science in mathematics from UNLV. And there in Las Vegas, she worked for the Environmental Protection Agency. I didn't know this about you, Senator, as a computer programmer, and with Reynolds Electrical Engineering as a law clerk. Senator San Buenaventura went on to receive her JD from UC Hastings. It was a lecturer of business law at Hilo, and in 1991, she was appointed as a per diem district court judge, making her the youngest judge in Hawaii at the age of 32. In 2013-2014, she was able to take 3 of her cases to the Supreme Court of Hawaii and has won various petitions for writs of certiorari. And she volunteers much of her time helping public to access the courts through the Self-Help Center. Senator San Buenaventura was first elected to office of District 4 in 2014 as a state representative. And then she was elected as a senator, District 2 in 2020. She's been a resident of Hawaii Island for over 30 years and currently lives in a photovoltaic powered home in Hawaiian Paradise Park with her husband, Weldon. So thank you, Senator San Buenaventura. I'm going to introduce you now to Judge Catherine Remigio. Judge Remigio was sworn in as a circuit court judge of the First Circuit on April 7th, 2017. As a circuit court judge, she first served as Deputy Chief Judge, Family Division, and in September 2018, she began sitting as a judge in the criminal division of the First Circuit Court, which, by the way, I was a law clerk at, by the way, Judge Del Rosario, where she currently handles adult crim felony matters. Prior to her circuit court appointment, Judge Remigio served as a family court judge for nearly 6 years, and in that capacity, she presided for 2.5 years in the domestic division and 4 years in the juvenile division. Prior to her appointment to the family court, she was a per diem district court judge from 2018 to 2011, grand jury counsel from 2007 to 2008, and a court-appointed arbitrator from 2006 to 2011. From 2006 to 2011, she was a partner at Bryant and Remigio LLC, a family law practice, and she served as a public defender for 9 years and as a civil law associate in firms in Oahu and San Diego, California. She received her law degree from Richardson, also, and a bachelor's of science in foreign service from Georgetown University. She's a graduate of Kamehameha Schools and was born and raised in Waipahu. And Keani Rawlins-Fernandez is a Molokai resident and a mother of an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old who drive her passion for creating a world better than she found it. She's the vice chair of Maui County Council, chair of the Economic Development and Budget Committee, and holds a seat for the Molokai residency area. She's a graduate of Molokai High School with her bachelor's degree in public relations from Hawaii Pacific University and a master's degree in business administration and a law degree with certificates specializing in environmental law and Native Hawaiian law from UH Manoa. And finally, our final panelist is Jane Clement. She was born into the Caballero family in Cebu, Philippines. Most of her family are hardworking laborers in the province. Wow, we got like a lot of similarities here. The value she's gained from her humble beginnings shaped her priority of service to others from adolescence to adulthood. And in 1994, she immigrated to Hawaii. Jane joined Mayor Mitch Roth's administration as an executive assistant charged with managing the county's sister city program. Oh, how interesting. Homelessness issues in West Maui and other various projects. From December 2012 to July 2017, Clement served as a legislative assistant to former Hawaii County Council Chair Drew Kanuha. She worked to draft and successfully pass tobacco legislation, raising the legal age for tobacco sales in Hawaii County to 21. And making it the first county in the state to do so. For the last 17 years, serving her community has been an integral part of Jane's life. Jane remains dedicated to community organizations. She served as president of the Kailua Village Business Improvement District and the chair of the government, something got cut off, something, chair of government.
Government Affairs Committee.
Government Affairs Committee. Okay. Any more that I missed on there that you want to share?
Oh, well, there was a lot more, but that's okay.
Okay, well, but most important, I think, Jane, was that she ran for a council seat, right?
I did.
Yeah. On the Big Island in this last election. So
correct.
I feel you on that one. So,
we'll get to talk about it later.
Yeah. Okay, you guys. So I am really happy to read all about, and I feel really inspired. But I just want to shift gears for a second, because I'm sure all of us feel deeply affected by what happened in Atlanta recently and the attack on Asian women. So I just want to take a moment to have a moment of silence for that, and also for everyone who's joining us live. And just take a moment. Okay, thank you, everybody. I think those events make it clear how important it is that we have better representation in government for people who understand these kinds of atrocities that are committed. And let's talk about the good stuff. So I want to, just prep our viewing audience that I'm going to ask these guys 4 questions for right now. I want to first ask about their childhood and what drove them as young Filipinas. Then I want to ask about things in their identity that empowered them to serve in public office. I want to also ask them about some policies, law, personal practices that they think could help increase representation of Filipinas in government. And my last question is going to be a little bit more specific, relating to the pandemic, and in their particular line of work, what do they think can be done to better support women, especially during this time when there's so much pressure with work, domestic responsibilities, and when they're especially susceptible to exploitation and domestic violence as a result of the pandemic. So those are our 4 main questions. I might get into something more fun if we have some time later. But because Senator Buenaventura was first to respond with these questions, we're going to ask her first on the first question. What was your dream as a young Filipina? Did you ever imagine running or serving in public office, and what in your life thrust you on this path? And then for fun, Senator, if you could just popcorn, as we say, pass it on to the next person of who you want to hear next.
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Becky. Really, as a young Filipina, so as you said, when you told my history, I was born in Manila, but I actually grew up in Honolulu, in Moi'ili'ili, which, if people here on Oahu know, that's a very Japanese neighborhood. And even though we are very multicultural, those of us, at least around my age, when there are very few Filipinos in an area, we do still feel some racism, okay? Because we're just not like everybody else. So in fact, my brother, who was part of Operation Manong over in UH, along with Manang Amy Agbayani, basically said that one of the reasons why I lost my my ability to talk Tagalog, even though I was born in Manila, was because I really wanted to fit in as a local. And there were few Filipinos in Mo'ili at the time when I was growing up. So what did it shape? Basically, I knew my skin was dark, my skin was brown compared to locals. It was darker than usual. I was thought of as a stupid Filipino because I had a thick Filipino accent. And in fact, so what my dream was really was I wanted to be Atticus Finch. I wanted to represent the underrepresented. That was my dream, was to be an attorney fighting for the poor, fighting for the impoverished, fighting for the unrepresented. And that is what I did. I mean, when you talk about the 3 Supreme Court cases that I took up to the Hawaii Supreme Court, one was a court-appointed case where I was basically able to overturn a felony conviction of somebody who I thought was being maligned. That was a native Hawaiian. And that was, I felt that was also a racial profiling on the part of the police at that time. So although I did my dream, I became the attorney, I went on to represent the unrepresented, as former Mayor Billy Kanoy said, as an attorney, I can only help one at a time. But as a politician, as a lawmaker, I can help more. And I've been able to do that, in fact, especially as chair of Human Services and Homelessness. I've been able to help help the trajectory prior to the COVID-19, which kind of exacerbated our homelessness problem, at least to start decreasing. It was on a trajectory decline of homelessness until we hit this pandemic. So that's that's my dream. I'm living my dream right now.
That's awesome. I love what you say, like having more leverage being in representative government.
Yes.
Yeah.
So on to Jane Clement. She's the next one on my Zoom.
See, how did I know you were going to punt it over to me right away? Thank you, Senator. And it's so nice to kind of know you a little bit more, and I look forward to kind of get to know a little bit more about all the rest of our panelists. So I grew up I was born in the Philippines. I grew up in the Philippines. I didn't really immigrate to Hawaii until I was about 20 years old. So it was like, you know, an adult already when I came over. And I grew up really, really poor. We did not have very much, you know. I went to college in the Philippines, finished college. I'm the only one in the family that finished college. And that was only because through sheer determination that I really, really want to finish college. And my mom did everything she could to support me. And it was a struggle all the way through. I remembered distinctly, and this is a story that I haven't really shared with very many people, and now I'm sharing it to the world apparently. But you know, so I distinctly remember in my third year in college, I was doing really well in college. During my first 2 years, I was able to go to school and able to pay my tuition. And my third year of college, my mom told me that she's no longer able to support me, to help pay for tuition and whatnot. And I was really devastated because I was doing really well in school. My deans and my professors really loved me, and I was thriving. I was so devastated. I went over to my dean and told her that I can't continue anymore. And I told my friends, my close friends, that I can't continue going to school because I can no longer afford it. So my dean, and this was like a very defining moment for me. My dean, I went to school at Cebu Normal College. It's now called Cebu Normal University, I believe. I studied to become a teacher. And my dean at my English department at that time, who sort of took me under her wing, decided to pay for my tuition so I could stay in school. And my friends put their monies together so they could help pay for my books and pay for buy me a uniform, because we had to wear uniforms at that time. And they did that for 2 years until I could graduate college. And so that experience, that profound gift of that generosity, you know, that really kind of affected my life's trajectory moving forward. I made a commitment to myself that whenever I am in a position to help others, that I will definitely do that. So when I immigrated to Hawaii in 1994, it was such a struggle for me because it's a foreign country. I already know how to speak English. I majored in English, so you know, and I already know how to speak English, but I was still very insecure and thought that I didn't speak well enough, that I speak with an accent, and so I was always kind of uncomfortable. And plus, of course, it's a different culture. It was an adjustment for me. So the first 10 years here in Hawaii was not a very good experience for me. And then I moved to Kona, and this is where I found myself truly. I found my Filipino community here. I got involved with my Kona Design Club, and this is where I started really gaining my leadership skills. And then from there, you know, I got invited to sit on different boards and join other organizations until I had the opportunity to work for then Council Chair Drew Kanuha, now Senator Kanuha. And that is where my love for public service and government work actually really began. So kind of my history.
That's wonderful to hear, Jane, your story. I just wanted to ask, you were saying your experience in college and the help you got from your friends and your dean, were they all women?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, there were women. So
yeah.
So in my first year of college, just really quickly, my English teacher, who I like totally adored and looked up to, and I remember telling myself, when I grow up, I really want to be like her because she spoke so well, and she dressed up, you know, like she was always so dressed up, and just the way she carried herself was just so fabulous. And I remember telling myself, I want to be like her. And somehow she saw something in me and started mentoring me and started training me to do speak better, and started sending me to these inter-college speaking contests or something like that. So I was representing my college for many years on, you know, in these competitions, and that's kind of how I really got to know her, and she got to know me and my story. And so I'm just really blessed to have found, you know, people like that in my life.
I love that. Filipina mentorship, female mentorship. Okay, do you want to popcorn it over to somebody?
Yes, let's go to Keani.
Neighbor Island connections.
Thank you, Jane. And aloha, mabuhay to everyone out there watching. So I think, man, Jane, your story is just really moving. It's probably a difficult story to tell without tearing up. I can feel that emotion, and I think with Senator and Jane speaking, they really cover a lot of what I experienced growing up, and I think a lot of women experience. I'm fourth generation in Hawaii. My great grandfather came here from Bintar, Ilocos Norte, and my great grandmother came from Cebu. And like Senator and Jane spoke about, it's having a lot of insecurities, growing up on a population, that's a smaller population, being labeled, less fortunate, a lot of government subsidies, and kind of looked down upon, growing up. It, these, insecurities and inadequacies that kind of shape your self-messaging. And so a lot of this, as I was growing up, became the messaging to myself that I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not good enough to, get into the college or get that position. And so it's a real struggle. And I think what Senator and Jane spoke to, and for myself, being able to change that self-messaging and believe in myself really helped to change me, really helped to make me believe that I can, go to law school. I can make it in. And even in law school, I felt all those insecurities silenced my voice. And like Senator spoke about, it was me wanting to be a voice to those who felt silenced and who felt like they didn't have a voice, is what helped me overcome a lot of these insecurities. Because it was when I was put in a position to have to fight for others that I built up that courage to also, fight for myself. And so yeah, I'll speak a little bit more. I know you're going to ask more questions about, that will help us like dig a little more deeper into some of these things. But I think I'll leave it there. And then as we get into the other questions, I can kind of share a little more. But it's incredible to hear our first two speakers, and it sounds like they're, kind of telling my story. So mahalo for that. And I'll turn it over to Judge.
And one comment on that, Keani, before we move on to Judge, like what I'm hearing loud and clear, and I've heard just from this conference I was at of Filipino attorneys all weekend virtually, huge theme was like getting over imposter syndrome. And like I heard that from all three of you guys. And that what I also heard is like tapping into something where you realize it's bigger than yourself. And that's where you got your strength. That's what the common thread that I've heard.
Yeah, Becky, that's exactly it. And so I don't know how to not start going into that question.
Let's get into that next question. Yeah. I think I've seen a lot of heads nodding. Okay, Judge, let's hear about your young Catherine story.
Oh. Well, I was born and raised here, so I grew up in Kalihi and Waipahu, and I guess I thought everybody was Filipino around me because where we lived, there were a lot of Filipino people there, and we were, we were, I guess, the majority. I never, the only time I really felt different was because I'm also part Hawaiian. So that's when I felt different, was because my father made me go to Kamehameha schools and I had to leave the community to attend school up on Kapalama Heights. And I didn't want to leave. So that was a dramatic experience for me, leaving Waipahu. My grandmother came from Ilocos Norte, and she is probably the most, the one person that really had a big impact on me and on how I approach life and approach challenges. My grandmother was, she went to Kauai and Hanapepe to work on the plantation with her family. And she was actually, I guess back in those days, this is what they did. They made contracts with other families and agreements to marry their children. So my grandmother went first of all to work, and then when she became 18 to marry someone from another family that they knew. So I guess she was the youngest of four, and she grew up in a very paternalistic environment. But she was determined to meet her goals, to do what she wanted to achieve for herself. So she got married, she had my father, and then eventually the marriage didn't work, and she came to Oahu and ended up working single parent, a Filipino woman with a strong accent, didn't speak English that well, but ended up owning a bar and having a very successful business. So I think, some of the struggles that we talk about that have to do with feeling that, you're not good enough or you can't do it. Whenever I thought of those things, I thought of my grandmother, because she, even though she grew up in a paternalistic and culturally traditional family, she didn't let that stop her from attaining what she wanted, her own business, and in a male-dominated industry, which is the bar industry. So I took that. What I wanted to be originally was a foreign correspondent, a journalist. And that's because I enjoyed writing. I like learning about people and events. And that's why I went to the Foreign Service School at Georgetown. But after college, I decided that I needed more life experience. And so I ended up taking 2 years off and living in San Francisco. And I ended up rooming with a coworker whose boyfriend was a prosecutor, got interested in criminal justice reform, and ended up coming back home to Hawaii for law school and becoming a public defender. Like the senator, I mean, there's a lot of, when you feel that you are the minority, and certainly on the East Coast, I felt that pressure of being brown, of being a woman. And at that time, it was a very conservative town. That was during the Reagan-Bush era. So some of the discussions that occurred at Georgetown School of Foreign Service, I was in the minority. And so a lot of those feelings that I had not experienced as much in Hawaii, I experienced full blown in Washington, DC. But even so, it makes you feel like you can relate to people who are the underdogs, and representing, as the senator said, representing indigent people who are charged with criminal offenses was something that I really enjoyed doing. And I felt a purpose was being, I had a purpose. I was helping somebody who was similarly, or who was the underdog. And I did that for 9 years. And then as Becky said, that transitioned into family law and then becoming a judge. And so I think that, you know, the experiences that we all have, that we've all experienced as women, as brown-skinned women, that actually, I think it makes you stronger and makes you relate to other people who are disadvantaged. And I feel like there's a theme here of, you know, people helping other people. And that's a good thing. That's part of what government service is about in all its different permutations, whether you're working as a politician, which is something I could never imagine myself doing, or in service of others as a defense attorney, or assisting others who need assistance. I think that those are really fine qualities that we all share. And I feel like I would like to hear more from you guys and more from me, because your experiences are really incredible.
Thank you so much for that, Judge. Some of the really salient matters that popped out to me, you touched on the patriarchy and white supremacy. So to the extent that any of the other panelists want to comment on those things, I don't think it's any mistake that the four of you find yourselves in public service, much of it driven by your experience in these issues of white supremacy and the patriarchy, and your ability to identify with the underdog. And so what I see from all of you is that you've chosen to pursue purpose-driven work in government. And it's really inspiring. So, okay, let's move on to the second question, which is like somewhat interrelated, but it'll give you an opportunity to expand on some of the things that you touched on. Can you tell us something about your personal history and identity as a Filipina that has influenced or empowered you to run or serve in public office? You know, run, like judge, you know, forget the run, strike run, and, you know, be a judge. So why don't we start with Jane, and then you could popcorn it along.
Personal history and identity as a Filipina. So when I shared earlier that first 10 years here in Hawaii was a struggle, and then I moved to Kona and found my Filipino community here. When I was living in Oahu, I did not have very many friends, and I did not have family here. And so I did not have that support system. So, you know, all I did was try to survive every day. When I moved to Kona and found my Filipino community here, and then I started to develop my my leadership skills. I was asked to lead the Kona Visayan Club here. And, you know, it started out doing something small. And it was primarily a social club in the beginning. And, but I told the members, I said, you know, we can do much more than being a social club, because, you know, when somebody has a party, we all go and we socialize anyway. Why do we need a club for that? You know? So I suggested that we do something that can help our kababayans back home in the Philippines. And so I started the initiative called the Classroom for Kids initiative, and fundraise to build classrooms in the Philippines. So that's kind of how all it started. And we built, to date, I think we built 9 classrooms or so in the Philippines. And then so I said, okay, so we've helped people in the Philippines. Let's help our keiki here in our own community. And so we established the Kona Visayan Club Scholarship Fund. And then, you know, through that, I slowly began to understand my my role in my community. And so, you know, when you start doing something like that, people start trusting you to kind of lead them or guide them, and in the Filipino community. And then the Philippine Consulate General of Honolulu approached me. I think it was back in 2007 when they first started, either 2006 or 2007 when they started doing their mobile outreach to the neighbor islands. And I was asked to assist, which I did and have been doing to this day. So I've been partnering with the Philippine Consulate for many years now. And then so through that work, Filipinos in my community, even if it's not immigration related, because they see you as a person that they can trust. So they start like calling me for just about anything. What do you do when this happened? Or, what do you do when your husband is beating you up? Or like, what do you do when I can't feed my children? Or, so I became sort of like the source of kind of information for my Filipino community. And then so I've started thinking, why don't I, if I'm capable of doing this service for a small group of people, maybe I can do it in my larger community. And then the opportunity came to work for Councilman Kanuha. And that's when I really began to realize how much of an impact an elected official can have on someone's life, So every person that you put into office directly affect our life and livelihood. And I quickly kind of understood that. And I learned everything I could, built relationships, build some more skills. And then this idea started in my head that maybe someday I can also, run for office, right? And then, like Keani said, this whole imposter syndrome just started setting in. And I'm like, okay, so as most of you know, I ran for office last year against an incumbent, no less. And then it took a lot of prayers and meditation and a tremendous amount of courage before I made the decision to do it. Because I was constantly questioning my qualifications and my worthiness. And even when I filed my paper and I was in the middle of organizing my campaign, that feeling of insecurity was my constant companion. It's like that. Why would people, I keep thinking, why would people vote for me? I wasn't born here. I speak with an accent. Do I even speak English well enough, for me to effectively communicate and articulate my thoughts? What gives me the right to do this? I'm just this Filipina person. I'm constantly questioning myself whether I'm qualified, whether I'm good enough. And then, I always go back to that pivotal moment in my life in college. I always go back to that. I was like, okay, there is a reason why I am here. There is a reason why I came to this juncture of my life, right? I put in the work. I built my leadership skills and experience. I built relationships, and I deserve to be here just as much as everyone else. And to me too, the biggest difference for me is that over the years, I have gained some really amazing mentors who constantly assure me that I am good enough, that I have what it takes, that I am capable, and that for as long as my intentions are pure, for as long as I come from a place of really wanting to serve my community and making a positive difference in my community, that I'm in the right place.
I think that's it. The community, that's what I heard loud and clear from you, is helping you feel validated. Like you didn't have the qualifications you didn't think, but your community told you you were qualified because they went to you. So I see you drawing your strength from the community. Okay, who are you popcorning to?
I want to popcorn it to Judge, please.
Okay.
The question was about how being Filipino has affected my direction in life and the choices that I've made.
Your identity, personal history as a Filipina. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as I said, I think my where I grew up and the values that I have is, I mean, I'm not saying they're Filipino values. I mean, every culture has values, and I think the uniqueness of the Filipino experience is that it extends through many different layers of family. So, you know, we live with my grandmother for a while, off and on, and you know, we have her with us, and we have been with her. We have different family members with us. We all have a really strong sense of family. I think that's what it comes down to. And being part of a larger intention for family, especially since we have family in Kauai, we have family on the Big Island. That's just like, that's the background that I come from, at least from my background here in Hawaii. I feel like my experience is a little different from the other panelists simply because I didn't come here from the Philippines, but my experience has been one of extreme family value and culturally supporting your family. And so that's really been what has driven me, what's important to me, family, and also, you know, taking care of family, such as my grandma, who I talked about already. She just passed away in October, 97. So 97, stubborn up until the very end. And those are also qualities I get from my grandmother too. So I think I'll just leave it at that because I'd like to hear what everyone else has to say. I don't think I have too much to add.
Judge, your focus on the value of family. I sometimes say that, like, I love to be involved in Filipino associations. I say this because it's like instant family. You know, even I went to like some conferences on the mainland. I didn't know anybody, but it was like a Filipino association, and it was like instant party. Instant family. So it's just that connectedness and community, I think, is so key. Did you want to hear from someone else next, Judge?
Yes, I would like to hear from the senator.
Okay, Senator.
So thank you. So I don't, you know, I kind of envy the judge having that family because my mom was the oldest of her family, of her siblings, when she was born in Maui. And she felt like she had to take care of my grandparents, her parents, when they moved back to the Philippines. And so there is a disconnect until like later on in life where I really didn't get to know my aunties and uncles. It was only really through an ancestry.com that I realized the census of where they used to live by Central High, you know, with the Central Middle School, that my now deceased uncle and my aunties and my mom used to live with my grandparents. And when my mom moved with her family, with us here to Hawaii, again, you know, she put us, and I think rightly so, she wanted to be in Metro Honolulu. so that's why we grew up over in Mo'ili in the central part of Honolulu. I mean, she got to hear, she had friends, I mean, at the Alconcels who were, part of the embassy, and that helped much. But, the values I learned from my mom is independence, okay? Because she had to take care of her family because she was the oldest sibling. And I think there was some resentment there, but she was strong. And when she brought us here, she was a single mother taking care of 4 kids. And the Filipino values of hard work, which is very common. I mean, when I represent plantation workers, they work from sunup to sundown for very little pay and without complaining. And they're resentful of people on welfare, because that's also one of the values I got from my mom was, no matter how poor you are, you do not go on public assistance. You take the bus, you walk, you buy secondhand clothes. You do what you can, but only when you are in the most dire straits do you go on public assistance. And so resilience from my mom, Filipino values of hard work and education. And if you look at all of my siblings, we're all college graduates. The women in my family, I think I gotta hand it to my mom, even though I don't even know whether or not she finished high school, but she made sure, well, I think the values was ingrained in us because my sister is a doctor, I'm a lawyer and now a senator. My brother is an accountant. My other brother is an unemployment supervisor, now retired, but we all became super independent because we did not want to rely upon anyone other than ourselves. And so those are the kind of values we had. So when I was growing up, like I said, people may think of, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so we were, anybody who grew up Filipino, I think, outside of the Philippines and outside of a Filipino community, know that we do have a lot to overcome. And so that strength made sure that my mom, just like Jane Clement, couldn't afford to take us to send us to law school or even college. So you made sure you got the grants, you worked. And you worked to get us to where you are. And so that is the kind of Filipino values, strength as well as hard work and overcoming. Regardless of whatever anybody tells you, you can overcome and do better. And that's what's got me here today. And those are the kind of values that my mom passed on to me. In fact, it surprised me about 20 years ago. She told me I would be a senator. And at that time, I was just struggling to become a solo practitioner in Hilo, and so I kind of laughed at her because it costs money to run for office, more money than you actually make as a politician. But she was able to foresee that I became a senator. And I'm just sorry that she isn't alive to see me fulfill her prediction. And so pass it on to Keani.
I'm just going to comment real quick before we go to Keani about our Filipino mothers and everything you said. I see all the heads like bobbing up, like, yes, like hard work, resilience, strength, take no BS, right? Survival. That is something that I can characterize my mom with, and a lot of Filipinos out there, Pinay, Inay. So I hear that, and I'm no doubt the influence of our matriarchs has affected all of your paths. Okay, Keani.
Thank you, Becky. And Senator, I'm sure that your mom is smiling down on you. She knew all along, so she didn't have to be in this realm in order to see it. She knew what was going to happen, and I'm sure she is so proud. Like Judge, I'm Hawaiian and Filipino, and I believe that my ethnic ties to both cultures are similar in a lot of ways. Like you said, Becky, like Senator said, I mean, we both share so many of the same core values, such as loyalty and commitment to our community, adaptability and resilience, hardworking, intelligent, driven, family-oriented, diligent and resourceful, very resourceful, very, very resourceful. All of which, are huge assets and have definitely empowered me to want to serve my community and to help uplift others to do the same. I didn't grow up thinking that I would, serve in public office or be a policymaker. Running for office was not something that ever crossed my mind. And I think a large part of that was because I didn't have, personal relationships with any elected officials, or, seeing elected officials on Molokai wasn't super common. And so, we didn't have that kind of role models in that sense. And I think that's, like having this panel to show, to serve as role models for those who may not have, personal relationships with those in the positions that, we're in on the panel. And like Jane, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a teacher. I loved how they're so helpful and smart and caring, and my teacher invested in me, uplifted all of us in the class, and I thought I wanted to be just like her, another female. And then in the 5th grade, I was assigned a project where I was the attorney, the public defendant for the big bad wolf in the court case for the 3 little pigs. And it was really exhilarating. And I thought perhaps, I wanted to be an attorney. I thought it was an amazing experience. And once again, that teacher was a woman. In middle school, I loved psychology, and I thought perhaps I would go into that field. And then by the time I graduated, from high school and applied for college, I thought perhaps that I would go into computer science, being kind of more of a realist and wanting to move back to Molokai, and computer science seemed like a pretty secure job, something that would have a demand. And so having that kind of a background perhaps would enable me to move back home and have a decent paying job. And then I ultimately graduated with a degree in public relations. And after studying abroad in Sweden for a semester, I wanted to just explore the world and live in other countries and experience that. After I returned home and married my husband, I once again entertained the idea of going to law school. And when I enrolled in defense clinic, I was able to take on a client as a student at law school, being supervised, of course. And he was a Filipino, and it was obvious that the system had failed him. And I thought that in being in law school, it wasn't. I didn't want to end up in the courtroom. In the courtroom, you appear there after harm has already occurred. And, you know, in this situation, you know, colonization, imperialism, capitalism, these systems that we, you know, have felt oppressed under for so long. And so in thinking, you know, that I wanted to be at the front end of preventing the problem from happening is what drew me to becoming a policymaker. And so while I was in law school, I attended night classes. So in the daytime, I went to law school, and then at night, I took classes toward my master's in business administration. And I also worked at the state legislature. And in my last semester of my MBA, I was called on my community asking me to run for council. Like Jane, it's a hard thing to turn down, right? Your community is asking you to step up. But I did. I told them I can't yet. I have to take the bar exam first. But, you know, and I asked if they could, you know, find someone else. And they did. They looked around, they asked around, and they came back and they said, you know, like, there's no one else. Will you please run? And after talking with my family, that was when we decided that I, you know, would take that plunge and, you know, try and run for office. I lost the election the first time, and then I won the second time. So don't give up, Jane. And, you know, and to my surprise, being on the council, I've become kind of like a teacher. You know, I'm able to kind of like help teach, you know, fellow council members and the public about our policies and the process. And then I you know, and so much of it involves psychology. You know, creating policies to help improve our community involves, you know, understanding like, you know, bigger picture. And then of course, I got my law degree. So to my surprise, I was able to kind of achieve all those things I thought about when I wasn't thinking about running for office growing up.
Keani, I love that you were closing. You had your story about wanting to be a teacher when you were young, and then you kind of closed with like, actually, I am kind of a teacher, like, and for a couple of reasons. One, like RBG talks about how when she was litigating, she saw herself as a teacher, teaching all these men on the court what the deal was, as if they were like first, second graders from her experience. But the other thing I wanted to say is, that's really significant when you're a kid and you're looking up and you're like seeing somebody that you emulate, that you're like, wow, I want to be just like her. They saw the teacher and then you set yourself on the path. I'm hoping that there's young Filipino women that are watching this and see you guys out there doing this, making it happen. And they want to do the same because it's like, oh, judge, council member, senator, rep, like, I want to be like her. She looks like me, and I have a model to follow. Okay, I think we're like past 6:30, it's 6:33, but I think we just need to hear from Judge, and then I'm gonna finish with just like a question, if you could just answer real briefly, like a double-barreled question, but just to get you guys thinking about it is, what would your advice be, in this vein? What would your advice be to other women, particularly Filipino women who are thinking about a career in government? So if you could kind of keep it brief, just because we're past time. And then my other like fun question that I was going to ask is, what's your favorite Filipino food, Filipino comfort food? Because, it's not like a Filipino event unless there's food involved. Okay. So Judge, we didn't hear from you on this question, did we?
You did. I think I was.
Oh, we started with you. Right. Okay. So good. We're ahead of schedule of being late. Sorry. So that's my question to you then. Who needs to start off? I think we, why don't we start off with Keani, because I don't think you started with a question yet. So what's your advice to women who want to seek service and, public service? Uh-oh, is she frozen?
I think, oh, am I frozen?
No, we're good now. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect timing, because I think you shouldn't get frozen. Don't allow yourself to be frozen. Move forward, believe in yourself. And I think, one of the things that I'm going to be working on for Molokai is mentorship opportunities. I think this is wonderful, having virtual panels where, people will be able to see us. We look like, them, we sound like them, we have similar experiences, and they can relate, and they can see that, we were able to push forward and not be frozen. And, and really take control of that self-messaging. So, I think reaching out to people you admire, and I would be more than happy to leave my contact information in the chat and on Facebook. If anything that I said resonated with you, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to help connect you. I either mentor your mentor or connect. And I know we're going over time. Yeah, Becky? So
yeah, no, I started
end with,
I froze a little bit. I was like, is everyone else frozen?
yeah, and then I'll end with our favorite Filipino comfort food. And you think that's an easy question. That's not an easy question, Becky, not at all. Yeah, I think, chicken adobo is way up there. Lumpia, like just the veggie and banana lumpia and pancit. Okay, but I have to choose one, and I think I'm gonna go with lumpia.
Delicious stuff. Okay, who do you want to popcorn to?
I will popcorn it over to Senator.
Okay. Basically, I agree with Keani. Believe in yourself. In fact, when I was in a panel 2019 to counsel other women legislators who felt like the patriarchy was letting them down, you gotta believe in yourself, and not only believe in yourself, you gotta also learn to take risks. Okay, in order for us to get to where we are, we have to take educated risks and believe in the fact that you have the ability to do this. Okay. So that is my best advice to anybody. Take educated risks, blow your entire savings into a campaign, but take educated risks, okay? Second thing is, my favorite comfort food. I have a sweet tooth. So it's either between halo-halo or ginataan. So go with ginataan.
Yum. Oh, I love that. Believe in yourself and take risks. I love that. Okay.
So I'm going to popcorn this over to Jane Clement.
Thank you, Senator. For our younger audience, whoever is listening and whoever will watch this later on, my advice is that you start serving in boards and commissions first. Gain your experience from there, right? Learn how to problem solve that way. Learn how to deal with other people that way, because that's all what politics is about, right? Problem solving, dealing with different people, right? That's my advice, is to start there. And then, and then be engaged in the, political stuff. be aware of the issues, and but always believe in yourself. Whatever people say, believe in yourself. And then that's the one thing that I'm constantly, even to this day, keep telling myself, I am good enough. I am good enough. And my favorite comfort Filipino food, and this is, none of you will probably know about this, but this is kind of a weird, spicy sardines over hot rice.
Yum.
That's my favorite Filipino comfort food. Yes.
Is there a brand of sardines that you like?
Like I usually go to the Asian island and the Filipino brand. It's the red can. I think it's Ligo or something like that. And if I'm like super hungry or if I'm like super stressed, big bowl of hot rice, pour the sardines over, I'm good.
I'll look for that, a red container. Awesome, Jane. So I'm hearing now, believe in yourself, take risks, and step up and engage. Awesome. I'm sorry.
And on to judge.
On to judge.
Oh, okay. So this is my advice. Just think, you can't get the job unless you apply. So if you don't apply, you're not even in the running. So you defeat yourself before you even start. Sometimes it's that you don't feel you're good enough, but a lot of times it's because you're fearing that you're going to fail. And fear is just a feeling that if you fail, you won't be able to handle it. What I do is I think to myself, okay, if I fail, what will happen? Well, then I'll just try again, apply the next time. I had better know what the questions are going to be. I better know how to approach the interview, and I am way ahead of everyone else who's applying for the first time. The value of applying is that you put yourself there and you make yourself better for the next time. So if you don't apply, then you don't get anything out of it. If you don't apply because you're afraid you're going to fail, sometimes failing is the best thing can happen, because the next time you go up, you'll be more than ready to get that job. So if you can envision yourself surviving, failing, then, and even thriving in that environment, then you will eventually get what you want. And that's how I approach applying. When I applied for circuit court, I applied so many times. Every time I got a little better. And the first time was the worst. Oh gosh, I wouldn't have hired myself. So, you improve with every opportunity, and that's life. That's just how I think you need to approach these things. Not that you're not good enough, but that if you fail, you're going to be better, and move forward there. So my favorite comfort food, I know it's pretty plebeian, but I like mungo beans.
Yes, yeah, it's a staple. Thank you, Judge. And that resonated and it harmonized, I think, with what everyone else was saying. Believe in yourself, take some risks. It's a lot like taking risks. Step up, take those positions, serve on community boards. But failing, like, put yourself in the ring and fail forward. I love that idea. Just like strike failure from your lexicon and replace it with learning.
Mm-hmm.
And you get stronger and you level up each time. It might not be what you're going for, but I'm trying to think of my own run. My failure was like, whoa, I learned so much. So that's my success. And you are all very inspirational and successful, and I'm very honored to have been a part of this panel and to have an opportunity to learn more about all of you. And I sure hope that the people who are listening feel the same. And I'm super hungry. Oh, I'll just say my comfort food is biko, which is the Cebuano name for like bibingka, just like the yummy mochi rice. It's all caramelized and yum. So that's my comfort sweet tooth food. But I guess with that, we're about 13 minutes over, so we're going to have to finish. But thank you so much, everybody, and best of luck on what's ahead. And I hope and expect to see more great things with your names attached to it.
And thank you, Becky, for being such a great moderator, for summarizing everything we've said and for putting it together. It was a really, really masterful moderation.
Oh, it was a pleasure. You guys made it easy.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Becky. Thank you to the Philippine Consulate and everyone who organized this panelist. And thank you to my fellow panelists. It's such an honor to be in this panel with you.
And I'll echo everything that Jane and Judge said. I think Becky, superior job moderating. One thing you said that came to mind was, I never lose. I either win or I learn, but I never lose. But yeah, such an honor to be on this panel with all of you. And mahalo and thank you to the organizers, the Philippine Consulate of Honolulu.
Yeah. From me too. Thank you, everyone. And Becky and Jane, you guys just got to go back in the ring and try again.
I'm inspired, you guys. All right, you guys, have a great night. Aloha, mabuhay. I think we're still live, but hi, Keani.
Hi. Yeah, we're still live.
I didn't get a chance to say hi one-on-one with you. How are you? I think, okay, we're no longer live. I wanted to say, I forgot to say, I meant to say, and you're kicking ass in Maui.
Awesome.
Maui County Council is like, whoa, what are they up to now?
I know, I wanted to say that and I forgot that we have a super majority of women. I didn't even say that.
Yeah. Yeah, and Kuleana Academy, Andrew, I don't know if you guys know, but I know Keani because we did the same political candidate training boot camp thing together, Kuleana Academy. So we were in the same cohort. And yeah.
Thank you so
And
much for this wonderful.
Espresso, shucks.
So much. We could probably go another 2 hours.
I know. That was too short.
Yeah. We were messaging.
So how many viewers did we get?
For the Zoom account, we had 11, but there were people that are coming in and out, so it must be more than 11.
Yeah.
And then we have more viewers on Facebook. So usually people tune in on Facebook and don't really bother registering on Zoom. Yeah.
It looked like there was a steady 10 to about 20 people on Facebook.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good.
I like to monitor what the Facebook feed looks like too.
Yeah.
And I'm on account.
I mean, I think these days there's just a lot of Zoom fatigue and Facebook Live fatigue or whatever, so I think those numbers are really good.
And what we wanted to do is download this video and post it on a YouTube channel so that we could play it again and again for people to see. And we hope to share after all the Women's Day event is over. We're gonna share recordings of all of the events so that people could rewatch, because we had a lot of very great conversation throughout this month, and we hope that more people would watch them because they're really awesome.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the digital stuff. So.
Yes.
We can replicate and amplify. Cool.
Thank you
and
so
I'm
much.
sure we'll all be sharing, on Facebook too. I'm gonna share after.
Is it available to share right now?
It is. So the live video, it's on the consulate page.
Philippine Consulate General. Okay.
Yeah.
It looked really good. You all did such a great job. Phenomenal.
It's
Yay.
all
Okay,
you folks.
Christine.
Thanks also Patrick and everyone at FJC.
Yeah, I just wish we had more time to do the introductions and everything. But yeah, Patrick, President for Filipino Junior Chamber. I'll reach out to everyone else, but on behalf of Filipino Junior Chamber, thank you so much. It was a really great event to watch and listen to. I'm at the legislature right now. It's like,
I
it's
saw
just
that.
not like it applies to everyone, really. Just hearing the stories is such a great thing. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the invitation. And I'm so sorry. And in my thank yous, I didn't say
Oh, no worries.
so sorry. But thank you so much for organizing this. So important. It's so important.
Yeah, visibility, modeling, all that. Yeah.
You
And
know, like
calling it out by name.
Yeah.
And
this is
so people don't feel alone.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrea.
yes. Well, when we had our stakeholder consultation with the young people, one of the things that they said to us is that they hope that they would have like more role models to look up to, because we're not that visible in the mainstream. They don't know that people like you folks exist. So that's why we're doing this series of webinars, so that they know there are successful politicians out there, successful business person out there that are of Filipino descent. I guess it's just a matter of us promoting ourselves more and putting our people out there in the public eyes, for us to be able to gain that visibility, and for young folks to know that, hey, this folks did it, I can do it too.
Yeah, I think those personal stories that everyone shared was very powerful. Like, oh, they did it, I can do it too.
Yeah. So we hope to invite you folks again in our future events. Again, thank you so much on behalf of the Philippine Consulate.
And I'm putting my contact information when you do share it. Since that was the feedback that you received, please, share my contact information. Patrick, you're welcome to too. I know I'm in Maui County and I'm on Molokai, but when you run for office, it's kind of a similar experience no matter where you are.
I'm sure.
And
yeah.
so, if people are thinking about it even, or are wanting to help with any kind of campaign or policy making, you can share my email address and my phone number. And please, since that's something that was cited as something they wanted to see, more mentors, I would be more than happy.
Definitely, will do. Thank you.
That's a
Speaking of which, we'll connect you with one. We'll connect you with one from Maui.
Okay.
We have a student from Maui.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So if you want to do the introduction, and then I can take it from there if you want. I know sometimes it's a little intimidating to contact an elected official. So if you want to do that, I would be more than happy to take it from there.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all again. Have a beautiful night.
You too. Thank you.
You
Thank
too.
you very much.
All right. Patrick, can you stay?
Yeah, I can stay. Yeah.
Oh wait, Patrick or me?
Patrick.
Okay.
All right.
Bye,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey.
Oh, it was
You're
good. It
still
was
at
really
work.
good. Yeah, no. That's why for policymakers, like, yeah, this is the state legislature. We're working late hours right now. So, but I'm glad I could join in. It was really good, Andrea.
Yeah. So we're gonna be posting all the recordings in a YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
So that it will be accessible, because sometimes it's hard to search for it
Yeah.
online. But this is something that we could replay when we visit
Definitely.
like
I think.
schools, share
Yeah.
this, and maybe like cut some sound bites and do like a clip, So maybe
Yeah, I think
that's
so.
something
Yeah.
that we can work with FJC. So
Okay.
maybe choose certain sound bites, and then
Sure.
we post that on our social media pages.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that we can capture like a little bit of the substance that was said today.
Okay. Sure. So you'll be downloading the live video,
Yeah,
and then
and then
just
we're
send us.
gonna
Yeah.
just share that to you,
Okay,
and
and then
then
we can start cutting and editing those sound bites and see
the
what.
sound bites.
Mhm. Yeah.
Also, for the ideathon,
Yes.
maybe we could meet this Friday to finalize the, like the judging criteria and all that.
Okay. Sure. Did you find judges already, or are you still looking?
Oh, we what we did is we invited the sponsors to be judges.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So
That's a good
our
idea.
sponsors, Philcom Center, Vanessa, and
Hmm.
they'll be the judge for the event. And I
Okay.
was thinking if we have a meeting on Friday, maybe you could have a meeting with the judges on Monday so that we could
Yes.
discuss what we talked about last
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Friday. So
Uh-huh.
just let me know when you folks are available this
Okay.
Friday, 26th,
Um,
and on uh
Monday.
29th.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I know for sure just take our holiday on Friday for the state, Prince Kuhio. But I'll
Mhm.
check with Sue to check her availability.
All right.
But then it should be nearly the whole day if we're both okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah. I'll check with you.
I'm free to the whole day, so just let me know. And
Okay.
then on the 29th, it's our schedule is open except for 3 to 4 p.m. on the
Okay.
29th.
Okay. That's fine. Okay. All right. We'll check with you and then I'll let you know as soon as I find out. But well, okay, that's good to hear then. Uh-huh.
All
And then
right.
also for the drafts for the ideathon, will you are they sending it to you first?
No, that's why
Or
I
is it
told you folks
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
see it.
No, 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 yeah. I mean
So
like did they have our emails, yeah? The mentors.
yeah,
So
the
they can
mentors. So
okay, yeah.
I'll just remind, maybe I'll shoot out an email
Yeah. Because
for
I wasn't too
everyone
sure.
for
Yeah, where
everyone
they mhm.
yeah, for all participants to send their initial draft to their mentors and to you and
Okay,
Sue.
okay.
What you just need to do is just to check if you see that it's
Mhm.
okay, like
Yeah.
it has.
If it's totally out there, then we'll let them know. It's like
Yeah,
you're off
yeah.
track, so maybe refocus a little bit. But I think they should all be okay, especially with their mentors' guidance. But we'll make sure they're on track. Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
all right. Thank
Okay.
you
Thank you
so
again,
much
Andrea.
again,
Mhm. Yeah.
Patrick.
All right. You have a good night. Good night.
You too. Bye.